On Valentine's Day 2026, the world's attention is captured by striking headlines. Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, the leaders of Russia and China, are seen shaking hands in a grand display of unity. Cameras flash as they stand side by side, their expressions carefully composed for the world to see. The symbolism is unmistakable. Two of the world's most powerful men, presenting a united front at a time of global uncertainty. Together, they declare an unbreakable partnership, boldly announcing a new world order that, in their words, is free from Western dominance. The press conference is filled with grand statements and promises of cooperation, as Russian and Chinese flags flutter in the background. Their message is clear: they intend to challenge the influence of the United States and its allies, reshaping the balance of power on the global stage. Their alliance appears formidable. Joint military drills showcase their combined strength, while coordinated vetoes at the United Nations signal their willingness to act in concert. Bold statements about building a multipolar world echo through international media, suggesting a partnership that could alter the course of history. Yet, beneath the surface, this is not a friendship built on trust or genuine affection. Instead, it is a pragmatic arrangement, one born out of necessity rather than shared ideals. Subtle signs of tension and unease can be glimpsed in their body language, hinting at underlying doubts. For decades, Russia and China were not allies, but rivals, divided by a long and often troubled history, as well as by the vast geography that separates them. Old wounds from the Cold War era and past border disputes still linger in the background, even as they now stand together. Their current alliance is less about friendship and more about a shared wariness of American power and influence. The partnership is, at its core, a strategic calculation. It is a relationship built on mutual benefit, not on shared values or deep trust. Each side seeks to gain from the other, whether in trade, technology, or military cooperation, but always with an eye on their own interests. Deep-seated grievances and competing ambitions simmer just beneath the surface of their unity. Both nations have their own visions for the future, and their goals do not always align. Tense negotiations and serious conversations reveal the underlying complexities of their relationship. Both Putin and Xi are playing the long game. For now, their paths converge, driven by common interests and shared adversaries. But ultimately, they are heading toward different destinations, each pursuing their own national ambitions. The very factors that unite them today, their rivalry with the West and desire for greater influence, may one day ignite a new competition between them. As history has shown, alliances of convenience can quickly unravel, and a future rivalry between Russia and China could reshape the global order in ways the world has yet to imagine. The most visible aspect of the Sino-Russian partnership is their coordinated front against the West. In recent years, both nations have made a point of showcasing their unity on the world stage, presenting themselves as a formidable counterweight to Western influence. Their leaders frequently appear together at summits, signaling a shared determination to resist what they perceive as Western encroachment on their sovereignty and interests. When Russia faced sweeping sanctions and international isolation over its actions in Ukraine, China stepped in as a crucial partner. Beijing offered not only diplomatic cover but also economic lifelines, increasing trade and refusing to join Western condemnation. This support was not just symbolic, it helped Russia weather the storm of sanctions and sent a clear message that Moscow was not alone. At the United Nations, Russia and China often vote in tandem, using their veto power to block resolutions that threaten their interests or challenge their authority. This coordinated action has frustrated Western efforts to pass measures on issues ranging from Syria to North Korea, highlighting the strength of their diplomatic alignment. Russia publicly backs China's claims over Taiwan, while China reciprocates by supporting Russia's stance in Eastern Europe. Each country reinforces the other's core territorial and security claims, creating a united front that complicates Western strategies and makes it harder for outside powers to isolate either nation. Their joint military drills and patrols are more than just exercises, they are powerful demonstrations of intent. By operating together in strategic regions from the Pacific to the Arctic, Russia and China signal their willingness to challenge U.S. military dominance and reshape the global balance of power. This alliance, however, is defined more by what it opposes than by a shared vision for the future. Their cooperation is rooted in mutual suspicion of the West, rather than a deep ideological or economic bond. Their partnership resonates with many countries in the global South, who see Russia and China as champions of a multipolar world order. By offering alternatives to Western-led institutions, they attract nations wary of Western dominance and eager for new alliances. Yet, beneath the surface, their unity is fragile. The partnership is built on a shared opposition to the West, not on a common vision or set of values. Differences in interests, ambitions, and historical mistrust linger just below the surface. If the Western threat were to diminish, the cracks in their alliance would likely become more apparent. Without a common adversary, their competing interests could quickly lead to friction and rivalry. For now, the alliance thrives on opposition, but it lacks the deeper, lasting foundation that true partnerships are built upon. Only time will tell whether this united front can endure the shifting tides of global politics. Economic logic cements the Sino-Russian partnership. In a world increasingly divided by geopolitical tensions, the relationship between Russia and China stands out as a pragmatic alliance, driven less by ideology and more by necessity and mutual benefit. Their cooperation is not just a matter of convenience, but a strategic response to shifting global power dynamics. Cut off from Europe by sanctions and political rifts, Russia now relies heavily on China's vast and ever-growing market for its oil and gas exports. Massive new pipelines, such as the Power of Siberia, are physically redirecting the flow of Russian energy eastward, symbolizing a dramatic shift in Russia's economic orientation. These projects represent billions in investment and signal a long-term commitment to this new partnership. For China, Russian energy is more than just a commodity. It's a strategic lifeline. The secure overland supply routes are far less vulnerable to U.S. naval blockades or disruptions at sea, giving Beijing a crucial sense of energy security. This reliable access helps fuel China's industrial growth and supports its ambitions as a global superpower. In return, China supplies Russia with a wide array of goods and advanced technology, quickly filling the void left by Western companies that have withdrawn. From consumer electronics to industrial machinery, Chinese products are now ubiquitous in Russian markets, reshaping the country's economic landscape. Their trade relationship is deeply symbiotic, with each side depending on the other. Yet, it is far from equal. China's economic power and technological edge give it the upper hand, and the trade imbalance continues to widen as Russia becomes more reliant on Chinese imports. China is also investing heavily in Russian infrastructure, building new railways, roads, and energy facilities across Siberia. Both nations are increasingly using their own currencies, the yuan and the ruble, instead of the US dollar, aiming to insulate themselves from Western financial pressure and create a parallel economic system. This growing financial cooperation directly challenges US dominance in global markets. However, as the partnership deepens, the economic imbalance between the two countries becomes more pronounced, raising questions about the long-term sustainability of their alliance. Increasingly, Russia is taking on the role of junior partner, a supplier of raw materials to feed China's vast industrial machine. Chinese companies are expanding their presence in Russian energy fields and factories, further integrating the two economies but also reinforcing Russia's subordinate position. This growing dependence on Beijing is a source of quiet unease in Moscow. Russian leaders worry about losing leverage and autonomy, even as they recognize the immediate benefits of the partnership. For now, the mutual benefits of cooperation outweigh these concerns. Both sides are reaping rewards, but the underlying asymmetry is deepening, and the long-term consequences remain uncertain. The economic foundation of the Sino-Russian partnership is undeniably strong, built on shared interests and strategic necessity. Yet, beneath the surface, the balance of power is precarious, and the future of this alliance will depend on how both nations navigate these growing disparities. The fragility of the Sino-Russian alliance is rooted in a long, often bloody history. Russia's 19th century expansion came at China's expense, seizing vast territories like Outer Manchuria through unequal treaties. Vladivostok, once Chinese, became a symbol of Russian power and Chinese humiliation. These historical wounds linger in China's national consciousness, taught in schools and reflected in maps. Officially, both governments ignore these grievances for strategic reasons. But the memory of lost land remains potent, easily stirred by nationalism. Today, China is the rising power, Russia in relative decline. The tables have turned, and old resentments could resurface if the balance shifts. History's long memory is a quiet threat to their current unity. Outer Manchuria, now the Russian Far East, is rich in resources but sparsely populated. Across the border, China's northeast is densely populated and economically vibrant. This stark demographic and economic imbalance worries Moscow. Russian efforts to settle the Far East have had little success, while Chinese migrants quietly fill the gap. Fears of a creeping colonization persist in Russian media and nationalist circles. Both governments downplay these tensions, but local anxieties remain. Geography and demography create a simmering, potentially explosive dynamic. The 20th century saw the alliance between Moscow and Beijing collapse into bitter rivalry. After initial communist unity, ideological and national interests clashed, leading to the Sino-Soviet split. Propaganda wars and border clashes in 1969 brought them to the brink of war. The Soviet Union even considered a preemptive nuclear strike on China. This period left deep mistrust, shaping both nations' strategic thinking. China's pivot to the US in the 1970s was a direct response to Soviet hostility. The lesson: national interest always trumps ideology or temporary alliances. The scars of this split are a constant reminder of the volatility beneath today's partnership. Central Asia is now a subtle battleground for Russian and Chinese influence. Russia sees the region as its strategic buffer, maintaining military bases and alliances. China, through the Belt and Road Initiative, pours billions into infrastructure, shifting economies eastward. For now, Russia handles security. China drives economic growth, a tacit division of labor. But as China's economic power grows, so does its political and security influence. Central Asian states play both sides, maximizing their autonomy. China's small but growing security presence signals its rising ambitions. The new great game is quiet for now, but competition is intensifying. Despite their current alignment, Russia and China's long-term interests diverge sharply. The Arctic is a looming flashpoint. Russia claims sovereignty, while China wants open access. China's investments in icebreakers and Arctic research challenge Russia's control. Russia's arms, sales to India, and ties with Vietnam, China's rivals, create further tension. Moscow seeks to balance China's rise by cultivating other Asian partners. China is a rising superpower. Russia, a declining one, clinging to great power status. Their alliance is a tool for now, but once their trajectories settle, rivalry is likely to return. The cracks are already visible beneath the surface. Today, Russia and China stand united, but history warns that such alliances are fleeting. Their partnership is transactional, built to counter the West, not to last forever. Imagine a future where China eclipses the US and Russia becomes ever more dependent, a resource hinterland for Beijing. The power gap widens, and old grievances resurface. Nationalist leaders could revive territorial disputes. Competition in Central Asia and the Arctic could escalate. The alliance, once built on opposing America, may crumble if the US fades as a common enemy. Ironically, Russia's strategy to counter the West may empower its greatest future threat. The bear, hunting with the dragon, risks becoming prey. Today, they stand together, but tomorrow the world's defining rivalry may be between these two friends. On my Mars Prating, Kuzdid.